Good morning, everybody. It's actually a pleasure to be here this morning, just talk about Suncor Energy's journey. I'm going to talk a little bit about asset information, really setting the foundation for our operational excellence management system. And also, it's really our platform for our digital transformation journey. Just a little bit about Suncor. We're Canada's largest integrated energy company. We concentrate on oil sands, heavy oil, in Canada, northern Alberta. Primarily our focus, we do conventional crude on the east coast of Canada and also in the North Sea. We actually have refineries in Canada and central US. We're producing almost 1 million barrels per day. We have an upgrading capacity of 550,000 barrels a day, refining capacity of 460,000 barrels a day, 1,750 retail outlets across Canada. That represents about 18% of our retail market. And I don't have it on here, but we're about 14,000 people, over 25 sites. Okay, the trending thread. A lot of buzzwords at Suncor on digital. We're playing in all of these spaces at the moment: digital transformation, digital twin, machine learning. Not doing a whole lot on augmented virtual reality, but artificial intelligence. We actually look at this as it's a changing how we do our work through our operational excellence management system. We've implemented that in 2004, and the reason that's important is that was the culture revolution at Suncor to get people getting that operational discipline and making sure we operate and maintain our facilities correct. Safety is utmost importance, personal and process safety. So really important to build on a strong foundation when we embark on this digital transformation journey. So through operational excellence, digital transformation, we'll get more effective and efficient in improving our plant reliability, risk management, environment, sustainability, obviously the reputation. I did call out two other ones at the top. If you think about an asset tag life cycle: create, operate, maintain, and retire. We have groups, project groups, Operator of the Future, that actually maintain that asset tag life cycle. So we're actually currently doing workshops and trying to understand from the project people in the field, what are their pain points? What do we need to do to drive our business value as we move forward? And we're doing the same thing on the Project of the Future and Operate, Maintain. I mean, a lot of the golden nuggets are actually out there. You need to speak to the people that are out in the business. And throughout the conference, I've actually heard a lot about understanding the problem, what's the business value. So kind of nice to be able to see we're kind of going down the right path. The other circle around operational excellence, we believe asset information is the absolute cornerstone to have good operational excellence practices, and it is a foundation to digital transformation. What is asset information? Definition for us is it's complete, accessible, current, trustworthy. I got on the left-hand side some examples of our process safety information. Could be P&IDs, PFDs, data sheets, procedures, vendor documents, spare parts. We have not many, but we do have incidents at Suncor across the enterprise where we had very huge losses, and one of the contributing causes was lack of asset information or duplicate of asset information, didn't know which was the right record. So it's really important. And we're also looking at implementing a platform across the enterprise through mergers and acquisitions. We got people all over the different locations, how they're storing their asset information. We're trying to build a common platform and bring everybody into that. Starting with the documents, and then we're going to look at the next phase of actually taking some key asset information and digitizing it, and really that is the beginning of the digital transformation journey for us. So there's some work in progress in that area. Obviously, the reason we want good asset information. On the right-hand side, you can actually see it's a license to operate, improves our risk management, decrease unplanned shutdowns, increase resource productivity, supply chain costs reduction, and really on-time commissioning and turnover to operations. This slide is just talking. I think one of the best exercises you could actually start with is doing an asset tag registry for your plant. in terms of your producing assets, producing the volume that you're actually producing for selling. We're currently going through that exercise. We got anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million tags. Not all of them are maintenance significant for production assets, but once you actually have that, you can then look at the pyramid at the right is really looking at the foundation is your engineering asset information. It's the base of the pyramid. So once you have that and you understand the criticality of the assets, then you can actually start looking at what are the risks associated with those assets. So when I talk about risks, I'm not talking about risk on the asset per se. I'm talking about the bigger risks to the business. It could be organizational risk. It could be maybe you got aging assets in your plant. It could be material. It could be in the mine. We have feed. If we get high chlorides, we actually got to change our process. So, and then of course, environment with reclamation plans. You got to meet regulations. These are huge risks. We review these on an annual basis, part of our operational excellence management system. But they can actually shut your plant down. So really important. As you move up the pyramid, you really got to understand your operation philosophy. If you're not keeping the car on the road, I don't care anything above in that pyramid, it's not going to do you much good. You want to make sure you've got safe operating procedures, start up, normal operation, shut down, even emergency shutdown. Are you taking care of that asset? Also, are you keeping within the technical operating envelope? We have alarms and things that tell us when we're getting out of those zones, but it's really important too. So that's one of your biggest levers as you move up that pyramid. Once you have the operation philosophy, how you're running your assets, then you need to look at your maintenance philosophy. And that's really looking at your procedures and practices, how you're doing your repairs, also your equipment strategies. You want to make sure you've got the condition-based monitoring programs, your predictive monitoring programs in place to take care of that asset. The asset performance management, the way we look at that is it's really bringing the operation maintenance together. So it's really looking at our process PI information, looking at our condition-based monitoring information, and bringing it all together. It's really predictive reliability, and we actually have some of this installed in some of our equipment, but it gives us a better picture of when we're going to have unplanned breakdowns and deterioration or degradation in the asset's performance. So that's how you get to world-class asset performance. We call operational excellence at Suncor. And it's not all about the technology. Listed in this order, first number is standards. We actually built the tools through the standards. And that was kind of different for Suncor. We tend to go out and build tools and then do standards later, but we actually went the other way around. And we do not change the wiring in the tools, the technology, unless the standards have been updated. And we have a governance structure in place with representation from the business units and making sure that we're enhancing these tools for the right reason. There's a good business case. And one of the rules is no customization in tool unless that standard and that business case is approved. Processes are really important. We a lot of our customers in the business are asking, well, great, I understand how to use the tool, Duane, but I really don't understand how it fits in my operation. So we develop personas. So we'd have an engineer persona, an operator, a maintainer, and then we'd actually map out what they do today and show them what we're changing, how we're changing their world with the technology tomorrow. So very useful not only in the training development, but also useful when you get into rolling these programs out. They'll say, well, that's not what I asked for. You can go back to your persona and say, well, no, that is the baseline. What you're asking for is an enhancement. So we have a sustainment program in place to address those. Content, number two is there's two types of content. There's metadata content. How do you actually find that asset information? And then there's content data. Content data is the business unit's accountability to ensure those records are kept up to date through management of change. The one area we struggled on this one is who owns the content. In our operational excellence management system, we know operations owns the assets. Asset information is owned by the technical engineering groups. It's not your dock controllers that are out in the field. They're administering the process. Engineering actually owns that technical content. People and culture, sum it up in words, don't do it to them, do it with them. Have the floor, keep people involved in your process up front in the design. It will actually help in the ownership and future sustainment as you go forward. But that is one of the biggest barriers. You also got to have senior leadership support to drive this standardization across the enterprise. I can't understate that. That's a critical aspect. But you also have to be working from the bottom to have the business units involved. And then technology is really, it's not about the technology. Just one of the principles, no customization. And if we do customization, what we're trying to do is make sure the vendor's package will include that in the next upgrade as we move forward. So all that work is just to get to a state where you can now get into the digital transformation, as you see on the right, advanced analytics, machine learning, 360 view, remote monitoring operation, connected worker. A lot of that discussion in the conference, so I really enjoyed seeing what people are doing out there, but to get to that point, there's a lot of pre-work. This is a bit of a maturity chart that we have developed based on those 4 pillars of asset information. Standards is number 1. You got your content on the left, people and culture, and then technology. And we're at Suncor, we've got folks between a level 2 and a level 3. We got some folks that are working in the document space only. We've got some folks that are actually working in the data-centric engineering design tools. So that's a single source of truth. That's where all their data is. So there's quite a range, level 2 to 4. And we're obviously trying to move up the scale with digital transformation to get towards the digital twin. And a good example I can share with you, I heard a lot in the conference, like what is digital transformation? And a lot of people are connecting it back to, well, what's the problem? What's the business case you're trying to do? So if I look at a persona of a QA technician and measuring pipe wear, they have these things called TMLs, thickness monitoring locations. One of the sites between level 2 and 3 are actually going out in the field and generating these drawings by hand and marking the locations where they take these thickness monitoring readings. So for them, digital transformation might be, hey, give me a 3D model, Duane, and let's put the TMLs in the model, and then I don't have to create all this paper. I'll have it all in the 3D model. If I move up the chain to our level 4, we've got folks that are actually into those design tools. They got TMLs actually in the model. Maybe a digital transformation for them is actually connecting the QA readings, the database, into the TMLs on the 3D model so they can visually see, here's all your red spools where you have high wear rates, things like that. And I think the sky's the limit. I could even go past that and look at, bring in your PI data, your process data, bring in your CBM data, and then bring that together and predict based on the volumes that you're producing what your future wear is going to be. That's getting into predictive reliability. So, there's the sky's the limit on this. And I'm sure there's a couple more steps even after that, but that's how we view it. Just the last slide, just to talk a little bit about challenges and learnings from the program. We're probably just about 50% complete in this program, first phase, end of 18. By end of 19, we'll be probably 75% complete. So we'll actually have an asset tag registry, we'll have a good handle on all our documents. We already play in the engineering design tool space. We're actually going to then move into an asset information hub. It's like a data lake. I've heard some people talking about that over the conference, and it's really, doesn't matter what tool ecosystem you're using, this hub will actually be able to suck the data in, and now you can take that data and leverage it into your digital transformation. Pressures to move faster. Our CEOs, I don't know how many times he mentioned to go faster, and I can relate to what he's saying. I've seen even on the conference, technology changes every 3 years. Our assets are 10 to 15 years, and by the time you get to end of the implementation, that's just the program. Then it takes 7 years to change culture. So really important that the technology doesn't get customized, so when you have to do subtle upgrades, it's not a big change management exercise to go behind where you deployed in some of your other sites. But you really got to help the culture understand how to get there. That's the whole objective here, is to make everybody better. Alignment of parallel initiatives contributing to digital transformation. We got a governance structure we stood up. We got a thing called facility equipment asset domain. Me being the OT leader of that, I drive that strategy with our IT department across the enterprise as we move forward. So any projects related to asset information run into this portfolio. We run the different products through this governance structure to implement across the site. Organizational change management, mentioned you got to have that senior leader support. You don't have that to drive common standards across the site, it's all a futile exercise. And again, you have to involve the business units. You've got to get them involved in design. You actually got to be solving their problems, and they'll actually show you the business case, the value as a result of that. Alignment of terminologies, very important. Brownfield content capture and enrichment, we deal with legacy data issues, so part of the program is to help clean up that. And then it's not about the technology, but how do we actually operationalize it? I talked about that earlier, about these personas, and really make it real for the folks doing the work in the field. Some of the learnings, it's a multi-year journey. You know, I kind of thought, hey, once the program's done, we're done. The work actually starts after the program's done. And it's a sustainment, and it's not easy work, it's hard work, but you have to have that structure to be able to drive that. And you really want to start the journey now. I mean, we started in one site, it was a bit of a pilot, and man, did we learn a lot of things. Then I got thrown into an $18 billion expansion, 50% of the engineering's been done. Okay, how do we bring them on the new platform? So we learned a whole bunch. I call that a pilot, but it was actually a full-scale implementation, and then now we're hitting our downstream. So we're progressing it, and I've got a pretty good pull across the enterprise. It's not, there, you know, it was kind of a good feel. You'll actually realize when you're in the sweet spot when people are asking to come out and actually help implement and help solve their problems. Educate and get buy-in at all levels of the organization. Asset information, you know what, nobody really wants to talk a lot about it. Even on the conference, I don't hear a whole bunch of stuff on it, but you know what, it's actually critical. It's your starting point. You know, you see the engineers going out in the field do work. If you can't have the drawings, you have to go out and find them. It makes life a little bit difficult. That's not operational excellence. Brownfields, focus on high priority facilities. Look at your high risk areas. Get that tag registry. Actually go through the exercise and find out how many pieces of equipment you actually have. And then technology is not the barrier. And I think that's it. Thank you.